Ukraine fighters cheer as missile takes down Russian jet over Kharkiv. This is the moment a Russian jet was shot down over Kharkiv city in eastern Ukraine on Sunday, according to local official sources. According to preliminary information from the Kharkiv Region Defense Headquarters, one of the two pilots of the plane shot down over Kharkiv survived, and may be hiding in a forest belt near Koliniki. Video shared with permission by Ukrainian pool camera shows what appears to be a plane erupting into a huge fireball. And video released on Saturday, March 5, showed Russian armored personnel carriers and other military vehicles captured by Ukrainian armed forces in the eastern Kharkiv region after fighting against Russian servicemen, the Ukrainian military said. Although under siege and close to the border with Russia, Kharkiv, home to around 1.5 million people, has not yet fallen to Russian forces. The shelling and attacks on civilian populations killed dozens of civilians in Ukraine's eastern Kharkiv region since the beginning of the Russian invasion. The authorities have said Russian missile attacks hit the center of Kharkiv, including residential areas and the regional administration building. For the first time, former British soldiers arrived in Ukraine. The first former American soldiers arrived in Ukraine from Great Britain. A few hours ago, the first group of former British military arrived in Ukraine, which intends to join the armed forces of Ukraine. According to preliminary data, we can talk about several hundred former British military personnel. However, today forces of more than 20,000 foreign mercenaries and so-called volunteers can be deployed in Ukraine. On the presented frames from the video material, you can see one part of the British former military personnel who arrived in Ukraine. Judging by the published materials, the latter is initially transferred to the territory of neighboring countries. After that, they are likely to arrive by train at the border with Ukraine, where they are already being picked up by other vehicles. On the frames from the video, you can see that the servicemen are already equipped. Moreover, experts pay attention to the fact that the equipment corresponds to the uniform of the British troops. This raises a number of doubts about the fact that we are talking about the former military. Judging by a number of features, these may be mercenaries of one of the PMCs. It is no secret that such mercenaries are already arriving from Poland, the United States and other countries, and this raises a lot of questions regarding NATO's statements about alleged non-interference in the situation, notes the specialist Avia.pro. Among other things, today there is information that pro-Turkish militants who took part in the hostilities in Syria and Libya may also be thrown into Ukraine. First use of the Russian S-400 SAM in real combat has been reported. On February 25, 24 hours after the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, several media outlets reported on the downing of Ukrainian fighter jets near Kyiv. Dozens of sources have confirmed that one of the downed Ukrainian Su-27 fighters was shot down by an anti-aircraft missile fired by an air defense system. Russian media today claimed that this fighter was hit by a surface-to-air missile SAM system S-400, which was located in Belarus. BulgarianMilitary.com mentioned that long before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Moscow deployed at least two S-400 batteries on the territory of Belarus. Most recently, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko asked Russia to deploy at least two more batteries on the outskirts of Minsk. If the information from Russian sources is reliable, then this shot at the Ukrainian Su-27 fighter is the first documented case of using the Russian S-400 SAM system in combat. Sources claim that the hit was made at a distance of 150 kilometers from the starting point S-400 to the final destination Su-27. This distance is less than half the range of the Russian SAM, which according to specifications is a maximum of 400 kilometers. Sources at BulgarianMilitary.com from Russia and Ukraine say air defense systems were used in the first 36 hours of the invasion. After air control was taken over by the Russian Air Force, the use of SAMs was stopped, but they are on active combat duty. BulgarianMilitary.com can confirm the information that Russia used air defense systems at the beginning of the invasion, referring to its own sources on the field. So far, however, there is no official statement that it was the S-400 anti-aircraft missile that shot down the Ukrainian fighter jet. S-400 Triumph is a Russian long-range and medium-range anti-aircraft missile system, SAM. S-400 is designed to destroy all modern and promising means of aerospace attack, including hypersonic. The CIA suspects Putin is crazy. U.S. worried about the president's mental health. Russian President Vladimir Putin has long been portrayed as a cunning chess player on the world stage, seizing every opportunity to crush his Western enemies. But Putin's decision to launch a brutal invasion of Ukraine last week has led some Western officials and observers to question the mental state of man at the helm of one of the world's largest nuclear weapons powers. In an analysis in the journal Foreign Policy reports, it is impossible to know the true state of mind of Putin. Those who have closely followed the behavior of the Russian leader over the years have been amazed by the strange and obscure nature of his recent speeches, in which he described as Ukraine's leaders as a drug-addicted gang and neo-Nazis. "There's something wrong with him in a way that probably never was before," said a senior staffer at the Center for New American Security, who previously worked as a senior Russian analyst at the CIA. Putin has never been a risk-taker and a gambler like him. If you look at the war in Georgia, 2008, Russian forces could have taken Tbilisi. They did not. They left former Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili in power. In 2014, they could have moved beyond the Donbass, but they did not. This is definitely another game book. Last week, shortly after the war began, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, the top Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee, said it was very clear to many that something was wrong with Putin. Asked if the United States had any concerns about the Russian leader's mental state and implications for the world, the White House declined to comment, but said Putin had been clearly quite isolated during COVID. Indeed, Putin often disappeared from sight for long periods during the COVID-19 pandemic, and all advisors hoping to see him in person were asked to isolate themselves for 2 weeks before their meetings, according to media reports. Ukraine army hits Russian warship in Black Sea, Odessa. A Russian warship was struck by Ukrainian forces as they continued to defend the port of Odessa from invading troops, according to Ukraine's navy. Video footage appeared to show Ukrainian defense forces, based in Odessa, cheering as they exchanged fire with ships in the Black Sea in the early hours of the morning. One Russian ship, said to be the patrol vessel Vasily Baiko, is thought to have been hit as Ukrainian forces defended the country's largest port, Ukraine's navy said on Monday. The enemy has retreated again, it said in a brief statement on Facebook.